You've tuned into another edition of The Break Room, a weekly conversation about how the City of St. Augustine works from those who do the work every day. Hosted by the City of St. Augustine's Communications Director, Melissa Wissel, The Break Room offers a closer look at the different city departments and provides updates on current and upcoming projects and events. And now, your host, Melissa Wissel.
Hello, and thanks for tuning in. You're listening to The Break Room. I'm Melissa Wissel, Communications Director for the City of St. Augustine. It has been a while since we've heard from the city's Public Works Director, Reuben Franklin. So with recent conversations about mobility fees, the city's take-back of King Street, not to mention the grant funding that has come in for Resilience Project, it seems like a good time for an update. So Reuben, welcome back.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me back.
We've got a lot going on. Your department has changed a bit. You've got a resilience officer.
That's right. Yeah, Jessica Beach is our Chief Resilience Officer. She's doing a great job.
And you've gotten this mobility fee update that we've been hearing a lot with. We've been hearing a lot of conversations with you and Amy Skinner, our new, not so new in the city, but our new planning and building director.
That's correct. Yeah. So the thing that's popping up in the news right now is the city's moving forward with implementing a mobility fee. Mm-hmm. It's not new around the state, but it's new to the city. It's a culmination of about 5 years worth of work that starts with mobility planning. We updated our comp plan to include a mobility element, and that set the stage and groundwork for the city to adopt a mobility fee. And so we passed first reading at our last city commission meeting. So now we'll, I believe February 28th, we'll have second reading. And it's an ordinance that has to be adopted. So, and then once it is adopted, we have a 90-day grace period, which started at Tuesday after first reading. So May 17th will be the 90-day marker, and after May 17th, we'll have an established fee schedule. So if you come in to pull a building permit and it's new development or redevelopment that is increasing the transportation, the demand in our transportation system, then a mobility fee will be in place.
And that really is, you've called it a delta, so it's a change in use where you're adding trips. Can you give us an example of how that applies?
Yeah, that's correct. So if you're an existing business or residence, there's no mobility fee. But if you were to change, let's say you had office space and you want to go to a restaurant, so that would be a change. You would come in, if a building permit's required, we would do a calculation of what your existing office space trips were being generated, what your new use trips were being generated, and you would pay the delta. So you get credit for your existing use.
And there's some equation that we don't need to talk about, but it's out there and it's in our packet on the website.
Yeah, sure. A lot of it's based on just square footage, and it's tied to established engineering manual. It's called the ITE. And it's what all municipalities and governments that establish mobility fees and impact fees go with in transportation.
So it is. You could translate it to what would generally be called an impact fee. You're impacting.
Yeah, traditionally impact fees are, the reason we're doing a mobility fee is that impact fees are traditionally about widening roads, adding turn lanes as new development comes online. The city of St. Augustine, we're kind of locked in. We're so old, we can't widen roads. So we have to think about mobility in a different sense, which is how are we moving all modes of transportation in the city, pedestrian, bicyclist, motor vehicles. And so the mobility fee, which is tied to the mobility plan, we can only spend the fees on the adopted plan.
So that's my next question. Where does this money go? What is it used for?
And that's a great question. So we before we established the mobility fee, we had to develop a plan. It's a 20-year outlook plan. It essentially, the big component of it is trying to put parking on the periphery of the city with multimodal ways into the city of St. Augustine. So our main corridors, San Marco, King Street, Anastasia Boulevard, to capture visitors before they get into the downtown area, and then have a shuttle that can bring them into the downtown area. So that's a big component. So there's a transit component, there's a multimodal way component, there's a parking garage component, and then there's a pedestrian and bicycle component of the plan.
Are the bicycles that we're seeing around town, are they part of that, or is that just part of our bigger picture of?
That was part of the mobility plan, but and Amy Skinner likes to say this, we're doing a lot of things of implementing the plan before establishing the fee.
Okay.
And so the bike share program is part of the plan, and it's doing well. I'm pretty happy with how that's going.
So I can park out of the city a little bit. Like, for example, I've seen them over on Anastasia Island. I can park near those bike stands and grab a bike and bike into the city. And
you sure can. And you can go vice versa. You can get around the city. You can park once and you can walk or bike. Those stations are set out. We intentionally wanted to try to get them near residential areas of the city so our residents could utilize them as well. That's one component of the plan.
Excellent. And in talking mobility and talking about the entry corridors, you just mentioned King Street. King Street is another mobility buzz topic. We're talking about taking that back, so to speak. It was, of course, started out as a city street at one point. The state took it over, and now we're going to work on negotiating. What are we doing? How does that work?
Sure. So through the mobility planning process, state roads are your King Street, San Marco, Anastasia Boulevard. And so the Florida Department of Transportation has governance over the management and improvements of those corridors. So the only one that the state doesn't really need as part of their overall network is King Street from US 1 to the Bridge of Lions. And so the city submitted a proposal of up to $18 million that the state would give the city for the city to take ownership of that road back. Why that's important for the city of St. Augustine, it allows us to design that road in conjunction with our parking on the periphery, which would be the Barry Browdy site. Right. In the corner of King Street and US 1 is where we think our first established garage on the periphery will go. And we need to have that design flexibility that we can design a street that allows for a multimodal way to get those people that are parking on the periphery into town and out of town in a quick manner.
And we want to be able to design it sort of at our pace, not have to go to other folks, so to speak.
Yeah, that's correct. At our own pace, our own timeline, so we can engage. One thing I love about the city of St. Augustine is we're small enough where we can really engage with our stakeholders and make sure everybody's part of the process. So another component is like King Street. There's a really cool business district that doesn't really have any identifying markers, between Malaga and Cordova Street. And I think we can really develop a program with input from the businesses and residents in that area that really create a placemaking for that section of King Street.
Gives you that vibe, if you will. The sidewalks are kind of wonky. The lanes are a little hard to get around in. And
yeah, that's correct. Pedestrian scale lighting, banners, signage, incorporated into Nights of Lights. You're already getting a lot of trips back and forth pedestrian-wise because of businesses, the winery, the ice plant, fish camp to an extent.
Right.
You got 2 new hotels going in off of Prawn Street, which is right on the other side of the river. And then you also have another hotel further down. Those are lots of trips. We want those people to park there one time and walk into town or bike into town and not get in their car.
It's not a bad walk either. I mean, it's an easy walk. You're talking about those restaurants there or the hotels that are going in there on Prawn. But you're right. When you look down that street, it doesn't have much of an identity. When you think of San Marco and even Anastasia Island, there's definitely a vibe. So that'll be fun to see that come out. And we don't really have a plan and a look in place yet, correct? That's something that we're working on?
That's correct. That will come after if the transfer of ownership goes through, then that will be something that we kick off as part of the design of the street.
That'll be exciting. If you're just now tuning in, you are listening to The Break Room. This week in studio, we're talking with Reuben Franklin, Public Works Director for the City of St. Augustine. Before we wrap up, Reuben, we've been talking about mobility, King Street, and I mentioned early on when we started our conversation, we've got Jessica Beach. She's our Chief Resilience Officer, and I am going to bring her back. But give us a sneak peek about the big news about the funding that we've got word about. We don't have the money in the bank yet, but it's coming. Big projects.
So this was in the local news. They ran a story on it, but the City of St. Augustine, thanks to Jessica Beach's leadership, acquired up to $26.5 million to go towards resilience projects in the city. And the one thing I love about it is that the money and the projects are spread out through the city. So it's going to help us accomplish some longstanding items that really it's been lacking of money to get them done. So we have some money projects in South Davis Shores, projects in the Fullerwood area, the West Augustine area, Old City South, Lincolnville area. It really spreads out the that funding is not just in like one location in the city. It's spread out.
And these are the resilience projects to help with our flooding, our mitigation.
Yes, that's correct. So most of them are flooding related, stormwater related, to improve stormwater systems, water quality, and one of them has a mobility component that we're hoping to work into it in the north part of the city as well. And but yeah, very exciting. And like you said, the money's not in the bank yet, but we've been approved, and now it's just getting all the paperwork and stuff.
It's got to be a little intimidating, though, because I know at the first go around it didn't go through, or not, and so all of a sudden we get this notice. We're like, oh my gosh,
exactly.
It's a good burden, I guess.
Yeah, it's always great to get money for the community, especially when the projects are have been long-standing projects. Some of them were identified in a master plan from 2011. Oh, wow. And
some of them are fully funded.
Fully funded, that's correct.
And is that Lake Maria Sanchez in there?
Lake Maria Sanchez is in there. It was not fully funded, but with this new announcement of grants, it's fully funded. And so now we just have to move forward with finishing out the design, permitting, and get into construction. We have a couple of land acquisition issues that we have to get over. But it's great news.
Big news. Real quick, it just occurred to me too, where are we on the possibly moving forward with the fire station on Anastasia Island and the Red Cox Road? Is that something we've made progress on a little bit?
Yeah, we're making progress on that. So there's 3 different parties involved. For those that are listening, we're looking at, there's been a long-standing project and intersection improvements at Red Cox Road, Anastasia Boulevard, and Old Quarry, kind of where the alligator farm is. Mm-hmm. We've never been able to do anything there, but we realized if we can relocate the fire station, that will give us enough room to make intersection improvements. So we've worked with the state, DOT. There's a roundabout solution out there. And now we're working with the Department of Environmental Protection to acquire a piece of property across from the amphitheater that will be the new location of our fire station.
Great. So, roundabout.
People
are going to love another roundabout.
Yes.
I've seen the designs, though. It's a pretty cool solution.
It's a great solution for the area, and there's pedestrian crossings that are included in it. I myself have gone for runs and have to frogger across the road right there. So I'm pretty excited, and that will definitely be a feather in my cap.
Excellent.
If we can make that happen in my career here at the City of St.
Wonderful.
Augustine.
Well, we'll keep everybody posted on that. As always, lots going on in mobility and in public works. Thanks for stopping by.
No problem. Anytime.
We want to keep you informed about what's happening in and around the city, and most importantly, that you hear it here from the people doing the work and making it happen every day. Be sure to follow us on our social media platforms. You'll find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at City St. Aug. And you can visit us on the web anytime to hear this or any past broadcasts of The Break Room at citystaugustradio.com. Until next time, thanks for tuning in.
You've been listening to The Break Room, a weekly program addressing projects and programs offered by the City of St. Augustine. Join us each week as the city's communications director, Melissa Wissel, has in-depth conversations with the people who make our town work to meet the needs of our community. The Break Room is produced by communications specialist for the City of St. Augustine, Cindy Walker. See you at this time next week for another edition of The Break Room.